It's late December 2010. A ROM hack is posted to Super Mario World Central. Its title? Mario. The ROM hack was nothing to write home about. It was mostly normal. A few things out of place here and there, but that was it. It wasn't really the ROM hack itself that made people like it, it was more everything else surrounding it that made it stand out. A specific individual was mentioned during one scene. If you know anything about the ROM hack, you know what I'm referring to. After defeating the first boss, Iggy, the cutscene of the castle blowing up plays out like normal. But the text has been changed. Victim number 1. Eyeballs were unable to be found. The victim was found lying on her carpet. Causes of death unknown. Hand marks of unidentifiable fingerprints were found all over the corpse. Nothing before or after this talks about victim number 1. It feels like nothing but something there for shock value. But its true nature is not found inside the game. It's found in the game's zip file. Inside the folder are 2 files. One is the IPS file used to play the game, and the other is a text file titled 3007014. The text inside is asking to be anything but gibberish, but if you wish to view this message, you first have to convert the file to an image. Converting the file over and checking it out again shows this. An image of someone that seems to mimic the description of victim number 1. And this image left the internet confused for years. This image outlived the ROM hack. This image spawned a search for over a decade. Its source did eventually get found, but I don't really care about that. When do you see people come together to search for the answer to an internet mystery? One not based on reality, one not linked to an actual crime, one based on nothing but an image. This one may not be an image, but it certainly is something. Hey, come here. Look at my orb. My big glowing orb. Do you like it? It glows like an orb. Touch it.
Gamer subs.
Just kidding, it's gamer subs. I lied to you. Take my drink.
Buy my gamer subs. Use code PAPO. Buy my gamer subs.
I
Use
love
code
January 31st, 2024. 8 minutes to midnight. The inception of this hunt starts with Churgny Gurgny, otherwise known as Stern, making a post on Twitter.com. The tweet in question, very short, yet impactful. I found this. A link to a game on Sonic Fan Games HQ. The game in question labeled by a very vague name, Sonic Fan Game, developed by an individual with only one known alias, Grenmound_Sonic, released earlier that same month with a single line for a description. Climb the Green Mountain Trail. A very ominous opening, I'll give it that. No background information, no known author, nothing. One line. One zip file. Almost as soon as it was found, Sonic Fan Game would no longer be known by its name. As it goes with games of this variety, its name is never its full title. It's usually only a piece of the puzzle or a red herring entirely. Sonic Fan Game falls into the latter. As soon as the public got their grips on it, its true identity would be revealed. The game would later go on to be known as Green Mountain. Green Mountain does not have a title screen. We're dropped into the world, a place that seems to resemble Green Hill Act 1 from the original Sonic. Speaking of Sonic, he seems a bit off. His eyes are no longer present, neither being closed or non-existent. The environment around him is saturated beyond repair, making everything on screen obscenely bright and the ground burnt. The controls are the exact same as early Sonic. You can move, jump, curl into a ball at higher speeds, and that's it. No spin dash, no drop dash, it's Sonic 1. The only difference is fall damage. If you slip and fall from a high enough ledge, you will die. In fact, it's the only way you can die. There are no threats. There's nothing. For an environment as lush as this, there being nothing is exceptionally off, especially with the music. From what I can gather, it sounds like an original piece. You could argue it's just a corrupted and compressed version of Green Hill Zone, but I'm almost certain it's not. It doesn't seem to match the song, but I also might just be stupid. It gives me the same feeling as something like Lavender Town. It's a type of scare that isn't necessarily scary, it just puts you on edge. Really, nothing happening on screen is scary, but it makes you think something is about to happen, and I think that's pretty neat. The gameplay is very simple. All you have to do is keep moving right. If you played Sonic before, this is par for the course. But, as you proceed, the environment changes. Instead of a track from left to right, you need to climb, something you don't really expect to do in Sonic. I don't mean a path leading farther up, I mean jumping from one platform to another with very little room for error. If you mess up at all, there's a high chance you will die from fall damage. And this right here is where the challenge comes in. You have to climb this mountain by jumping the platforms that most of the time are barely visible, if visible at all. Your only saving grace, if you can even call it that, is the game's physics. Due to something that I'm not entirely sure was intended, if you are right below a platform, you get zipped on top of it. The platforming is tricky, but there's no rush. No time limit, nothing. Take it at your own pace. You'll get there eventually. Once you reach the top of the mountain, you find you are not alone. There's another hedgehog. Its face is non-existent, nothing but a black hole to gaze at. After a moment, he wakes up. A battle starts, the background music being the same as before, but in reverse. The hedgehog runs towards you, trying to jump on your head. In order to defeat it, you must do the same to him. At a certain point, once he's been hit enough, he stops trying to attack you. Instead, he runs aimlessly into the wall, an animation playing of him seemingly trying to break out of the confines of the window. All this means for us is a victory. But the victory is hollow. We aren't given anything as a reward, we don't see an ending cutscene, no. Our enemy melts away, and we're left here, alone. After around 4 minutes of waiting, if you decide to wait, something interesting happens. Sonic's mouth and torso fade away, leaving only a figment of black where they used to lie. The background goes along with it, the environment around us slowly melting away pixel by pixel. First the water, then the background, then the foreground, the soil, the totems, and finally, Sonic himself. If you can still even call him Sonic. He's starting to resemble the other hedgehog from before, a creature made of only black and blue. As he waits, the rest of the screen goes black, and we're brought to a conclusion. The game is over, and we're stuck here by ourselves with a creature in front of us. This character, devoid of a life of his own, would go on to be known as End. This is all that lies within Green Mountain. Our Sonic melts away and waits for another to come. An endless cycle of misery with no clear beginning, no clear end, and no reason to exist. But what if, instead of searching for answers in the game itself, we look for answers through the game's files? From what I can gather, Green Mountain is made with Game Maker, which gives us the ability to decode the game's files. Considering it's on the same engine as Undertale, we can use the Undertale mod tool, which is as simple as pressing 2 buttons. Right out of the gate, there doesn't seem to be anything out of place. The assets are organized. Nothing is missing. Except... No, things aren't right. The assets might be fine, but the names aren't. Almost every graphic's name has been changed, resembling pieces of a longer conversation. We've been trekking up this route for over an hour. You'll get there sooner than later. Green Mountain is not far, and the most unnerving, did you bring the shovel? The sprites themselves seem to be fine, but the names are throwing me off. Give me a moment, we'll come back to this. There's still more to find. One sprite is labeled by a set of numbers and the name Jared. The sprite itself seems to be the space in between 2 Sonic animations. Obviously this doesn't show up anywhere in the game, but we should probably write this name down for later. The most important thing here is a picture. Hidden in between sprites used within the game is an image. It doesn't have a prefix for what it might be for, nor does it feature a piece of a conversation like the others. It just has a title. That title being Returnal. Interesting. I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be looking at, but that just makes me more intrigued. What is this supposed to be? I have a few ideas, but I'm not quite sure which one is correct. There is one that seems to make the most sense, but it could be anything else for all I know. Based on the information I'm about to tell you, I'm inclined to believe this is a dead body. Specifically, a more realistic depiction of End. Looking at it head on, it's anybody's guess as to what it could be. Could be a mountain, could be a face, could be anything. But, by taking a look at it from the side, a clear picture is able to be seen. I'm not sure if you can tell, but to me it looks like someone or something lying on its side in pure agony. It's reached its own game over just as we did before. Things like this are why I like internet mysteries. There is nothing necessarily scary about this image, it's just barely comprehensible to begin with. But the fact that we found it in the way we did, the fact it's just lying here amidst a sea of used assets, the fact it may or may not be something we've already seen before, everything about it makes it great. It lets your mind wander rather than telling you the answer directly. A mystery should be mysterious. I didn't think that was rocket science. From what we've gotten so far, there isn't really a story to piece. There's a game that seems to end in a loop, and an image that, as scary as it may be, doesn't tell us anything we don't already know. That's where the sprites come into play. There are multiple sentences hidden in the files of the game. None of them are in order and seem to ping-pong around with no clear beginning or end. It's a conversation between 2 different people, with one unnamed girl mentioned in passing. I'm going to show every line on screen so you can get a basic idea of what I'm about to do, as I'm going to try my absolute best to piece a cohesive story through these lines of text. It might not be completely accurate, I might get it entirely wrong, but I'd rather try than not make this video. Hopefully things will make more sense by the end, because if not, I'm not sure what I'll do.
We've been trekking up this route for over an hour. Couldn't you do it now?
You'll get there sooner than later.
Yeah, speaking of, how far is it?
Green Mountain is not far.
Okay.
We are here. Did you bring the shovel?
No.
Why?
Left it there. We left it in the car.
It's in the pack.
Do you already need to go?
No, but I need it to mark something.
Have you talked to her?
Not really.
Why not?
I don't want to talk. I am exhausted, as it is. I'll set stuff at the clearing, Jared.
After this discussion, Jared, carrying what I can only assume is the creature from the Returnal image, climbs up Green Mountain, where the other person is setting something up at the clearing. What that something is something I'm not sure of, but I think I have a general idea. Within the various tile sets for the game is a single straight path with multiple small dirt holes laid across it. Nothing like this shows up in the game, but the dirt patches are just the right size for the totems seen at the top of Green Mountain. I'm not quite sure what these totems mean, but the closest thing I can compare it to are the Haniwa, terracotta clay figures that were used in Japanese burials. I'm not sure if this is relevant, but there is a chance these are the same figures as seen in Green Mountain. And for the most part, that's everything surrounding the game. Two people kill a creature, either on purpose or by accident, and hide their crime on Green Mountain. In the game, you play as Jared, climbing up the mountain to meet their friend at the top who has already set up the burial ground ahead of time. They bury the body, and leave. The corpse is seen in Returnal.png, either being still alive and kicking on Green Mountain, or a rotting body. Either way, it's alone, constantly reliving the same cycle over and over again in some form of purgatory. And that's it. It's short, it's sweet, it's Green Mountain. After watching this video, I still recommend you check out the game for yourself and see what's hidden in the files. I probably missed something, and if I did, please feel free to let me know and tell me what you think the story is. If there is a story in the first place. We climbed the Green Mountain Trail, and came to an end. As short as all this was, I'm glad I got to check it out. Sometimes you don't want to spend 2 months figuring out a topic, and instead you want to play a game and have fun. And that's what Green Mountain is. Fun. I don't know how to end this video, so I'm just gonna let my editor do whatever the fuck he wants. Bye-bye.